There's nothing obstructing you, living life right on the edge.
Best place to be.
The best place to be, right on the bed.
Best place to be. And look, there's a dragon line here. You know, we all have meridian lines in our body, but this is actually a meridian line for Mother Earth. Incredible energy. Yeah, look at this Whitehawk.
This is the kitchen door.
Yes, this is my kitchen door because I needed to have fire in the north. So my feng shui master told me, because this was the entrance, that's why this door is here. But now look, I love the moon and the stars. So look, I can see the moon and the stars here.
Right through the kitchen. Leadership and Yoga fam, today I have a really special interview for you. I just got done with talking with Lana Wedmore, and she's many things, but in my mind, I picture her as almost like a rainforest fairy who speaks with the animals and speaks with nature, but who also has a warrior side to fight, to protect them. She's a yoga teacher and a Reiki master and works on the individual, as many of us do as yoga teachers, but she is also an activist working on systemic change to protect one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. And in addition, she is the author of the book Married to Paradise and the creator of Luna Lodge, where I am sitting right now. So be sure to stay all the way to the end of the episode because we have a nice little behind the scenes tour of her house so you can get to know a little bit more about her and have some visuals for some of the things that we mention, including the incredible natural view that you are probably hearing in this episode. Today's episode is brought to you by two friends of the Leadership and Yoga podcast. If you are a fellow yoga teacher or a coach and you have said that this will be the year that you will finally get your offers organized in the online world, I have looked all over far and wide to find the best system for having on-demand courses and classes, and OFFERINGTREE has an unlimited library for you, and they also include things that other softwares don't include, like a website that you easily control and assistance from real people who actually know your name. I'm stoked that right now OFFERINGTREE is giving a free trial to listeners of this podcast, so you can visit offeringtree.com/Shauna Crew. That's offeringtree.com/Shauna Crew to get your free trial. OFFERINGTREE is one of my trusted advisors for my yoga business, and so if you've been looking for a sign or you've been looking for a first step that makes sense, pause me real quick and go start this free trial so that way you can set it up later on. And secondly, this podcast is brought to you by Tend. And Tend is one of my other trusted advisors, specifically Sophia Art, who is currently guiding me through a series of consultations on how to live a life of rhythm through the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda. I'm also going to put her booking link in the show notes because it is so hard to find guidance around things like food and self-care that feels personalized and also incredibly holistic. And each time that I speak with Art, I am left feeling absolutely mind blown, but also more relaxed as she really simplifies these feelings of wellness overwhelm that I was having around all the different competing advice that we hear for taking care of ourselves these days. If you want to start off the year with a fresh perspective on your health, you can book a consultation with her and you'll see exactly what I mean. And I will also tell you that what you're about to see is a short film on the Whitehawk Foundation, so you can actually see Lana a bit in action before you get to hear her on the podcast. Now, sit back, relax, but also lean in. Today, on the Leadership and Yoga podcast, Lana Wedmore.
Look, there's monkeys. Look at this spider monkey. I'm here to check what the cameras caught overnight. We'd put up these trail cams to see what moves through here. What calls this place home. Sí, es muy saludable.
Sí, muy saludable.
Muy bello. Yeah, es grande. I've lived here in Karate for over 36 years. In 2008, I started the Whitehawk Foundation because I saw what was coming. All this land was for sale. People were buying it and developing it. I knew that if we didn't act fast, we'd lose it. Bordering the Karate River Valley is Corcovado National Park. Corcovado is one of the most biodiverse places left on this planet. There are more species per square meter than almost anywhere else. The same animals that live in Corcovado live in Karate River Valley. Here we have jaguars, toucans, tapirs, all 4 species of monkeys. It's wild in a way most places aren't anymore. Spider monkeys are listed as endangered, but here in Karate they're everywhere. That tells you something. This land is still doing its job. And in many ways, this valley is the last place of its kind. It's not a park, it's not protected, but it connects everything. That's why we're here, the Whitehawk Foundation. They say they want to pave the roads, bring in power lines, develop hotels. But once the machines move in, what's lost can't ever be replaced. The Whitehawk Foundation is working to purchase land in the Karate River Valley while we still can. That's the mission. Purchase land, protect it, and keep it wild forever.
All right, let's start with a deep breath. And if you were listening, you can take that deep breath with us. Salud.
Salud.
You have a little cacao here.
Salud.
Oh, it's so good.
I know.
It's so good. Well, Lana Wedmore, welcome to the Leadership in Yoga podcast. What an honor it is to sit here with you today. You're somebody that if I lived even nearly remotely, I would be asking you to sit down every single day like this to talk. Just in the few days that I've known you, you're overflowing with wisdom And if you're tuning in, you're in for a real treat. Really, what we're going to talk about today is yoga and nature. And if you're able to hear a little bit of the soundscape, we'll probably hear some insects and some birds along the way. So hopefully you get a little bit of the feeling of Luna Lodge where we are at right now. But thank you for being here, Lana. Or I guess I should say thanks for letting me be here in your home with you right now.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I really appreciate this. And it's an honor, too, to be with you. And I love to share. I built Luna Lodge to share, truly.
Yeah.
So anyone that comes, I know that they're meant to come.
Exactly. And that's how it's been, really. I've shared this with you, but as a listener tuning in, if you're one of my listeners as well, it took several friends and mutual friends all to point me in your direction. And then poof, I showed up here and we're making it happen. So I know it's meant to be. And I want to talk to you first and foremost about the relationship between yoga and nature. And so there's so many questions that I have for you, but the first one that came to my mind is, what do yoga and nature have in common? How are they related, really?
For me, yoga and nature go hand in hand. And like I said, I built Luna Lodge to share, but I've been doing yoga for like 38 years of my life. And when I came here, when you're in nature and you see an animal, even an insect, even an ant, you're just looking at it. You're there in the present. And it just helps you become back living in the moment. And the same thing for me with yoga. If you can learn how to use your breath correctly and learn how to do the poses correctly, then you should also be in the present and be in the now.
Yeah. What do you feel like how does nature really change us? Because I know that you've spoke about this immersion into nature and how it has changed you, and maybe you can share a bit with listeners about how much time you've spent really living in the rainforest, but how does nature change us?
Oh, for me, I'm speaking for me personally, but for me, and I've seen it happen with so many of my guests, for me, Mother Earth is truly the best medicine. And the view that we're looking at, we're going to share with your clients and with your listeners. But for me, she's love, and we all need to go inside and find that love and harmony and balance and worthiness here and trust. And then your mate, then your children, then your employees, and your world. But I have seen, to be honest with you, Shauna, people less than 24 hours, and it's just like I can see their face change. I tell a lot of people, like yoga retreats and like my teacher training, when you get here, take a picture, and then when you leave, like especially with the yoga retreat, 7 days later, your face has changed. But it's just love, and the people don't even know it, but they're being absorbed by her. Animals are medicine. Plants are more sensitive than we are. I do a plant meditation in my yoga, and then crystals, like I'm going to talk about, hopefully. Yes. But it's just like, and I think, it's really, really important for people to understand that Mother Earth and the divine, whoever you may believe in, they give us like 1,000 signs a day. But people need to pay attention and become more aware. Yeah. But I feel so fortunate because here I have the opportunity, like even this morning before our interview, I walked out to my deck and a morpho just flew by.
And that's a type of bird, yeah.
A morpho, no, it's a butterfly.
Butterfly.
A blue morpho is a butterfly. And butterflies are like, dance, be you. I love to dance. So for me, it was just like, just be you, Lana, But I mean, a toucan flies by, toucan medicine. I mean, the monkeys are telling you to just let go, I mean, everything is truly here. It's like right in front of your face, so you pretty much have to pay attention. And I think so many people in the world right now, they're not really going out into nature anymore.
True.
And for me, to be honest, sometimes people fear nature. We're part of her. We're one. We're part of Mother Earth and the cosmos. We just need to know that. And so that's, I think, when you come back down here to your heart and you really listen to your intuition and move in that direction, you will have a better day. Yeah. I made a quote up that said, if you follow your intuition, you're listening to your soul, and you'll have a better day.
Yeah. If you're following your intuition, you're listening to your soul, and you're going to have a better day.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by what you said about this idea of being absorbed by nature and how nature is absorbing you and really taking you in. I'm envisioning it like kind of like it's cradling us. But like you said, there are these things in nature that scare us, that we feel fear around. And so I'm curious, how can we learn to trust nature more and to actually lean into her rather than try to separate ourselves from her?
Well, I think I'll give you an example. Like, I had a yoga retreat here last week. And, the Animal Speaks book by Ted Andrews, it's like my Bible. And this woman, she was very afraid of spiders.
Yeah.
Whatever you think about, the universe doesn't understand no. So whatever you think, whatever you say, your actions go whoop, whoop, and here especially. So, of course, I always tell people, if you're afraid of anything, don't think about it and just put a sloth in front of you. Just put the figure of a sloth because they're so happy, and loving. And people want to see them. But, of course, a spider shows up.
Yes.
So she comes down and she's like, Lana, there's a spider. I mean, she's like, it's this big. And it was like this big, It's always like exaggerated. But so I said, okay, come here. So I showed her the book, Animal Speaks. A spider is telling you that you're the center of your world. And it's also telling you, like, the web of your life. With your thoughts, actions, and words, you're creating your web of life.
Yeah.
Know thyself, thou shalt know the universe. So she just looked at me and I said, that's just a little bit. You need to read this whole thing because spiders are such amazing medicine. Yeah. They have 8 legs. They're, like the infinity too. So it's, for me, I think it's just, they show up also when you need to be, you need to be talked to, but they're like right in front of you, Yeah. And also, I just want to say, I'm also a forest bathing guide. And the other day I was taking a group just a couple of days ago, and this huge tree just like spoke to me, and here in the rainforest, they definitely have their tap root, but they have these beautiful buttress roots that are, grounding, so it's like up, but also horizontal.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, wow, Lana, just tap in, be strong, stand tall, like we need to do in yoga. We need to stand tall so all this beautiful information from the universe can come in.
So to get to the level of understanding the signs and the symbols that nature is giving you, that's something that I see you've grasped to a level that I've never really met anybody that is that connected. It's like I really do feel and believe from you the way that you are speaking with nature and seeing dimensions of nature that to our naked eye are not instantly apparent, but the more time that you spend with her, you start to understand and to learn from her. And I could see how it's woven into even the yoga practice that you taught to us yesterday, But I want you to tell listeners a little bit about your story and tell them how much time you've spent living here and how it is, why are we sitting here in Luna Lodge? I know it's in your entire book, as I mentioned in the introduction, but take us a bit on the journey of the amount of time that you've been living out here and how you've arrived to this level of connection that you have today.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I wrote this book called Married to Paradise, but even as a little girl, I grew up in Colorado, but, they always put me outside to make the gardens. So I think I already grew up, like, listening to the birds and having my hands in the soil, serotonin. And I love feeling the breeze on my face. I went sailing, all around the world. And it just, for me, nature was so sacred to me, and it was actually my savior, in my life. We all have a story. Everyone has a story. But then a boyfriend brought me to Costa Rica, almost 46 years ago. And then I just kept coming back. I went to the University of Costa Rica my junior year in college, and he asked me to marry him, and I said, no, I want to stay in Costa Rica. So then ended up going around the world, got accepted on an expedition, but then something was still calling me back here.
Yeah.
So then I was so lucky, then I got to be a guide here in Costa Rica in the 80s, which was so incredible. I got to go all over, and my boss, actually, it's kind of interesting, the story, because I had been here so many times, but I really wanted to come and work here because I graduated college, went around the world for a couple years, learned a lot. I think only through experience can you really learn anything. True. And so my friend said, because I wanted to interview with this man, he was like one of the largest tourism companies here in Costa Rica, and he said, I'll get you an interview. So he got me an interview. So I went to the interview, and he said, tell me a little bit about yourself. I said, well, I just traveled around the world for a couple of years, and my birthday's in 5 days. He said, when's your birthday? I said, December 11th. He said, that's my birthday. So he knew right away that he could trust me. I
Yeah.
would work really hard.
It's meant to be.
Yeah. And so then we finished the interview. He said, I don't know where I'm going to put you, but you got the job. So that started it. So then he put me in sales in this beautiful building downtown San Jose, and he put me in the center. Like, people would walk in, and then there's two really good-looking, Costa Rican men beside me, but all the clients would go beeline to me because they would know that I would speak English.
Yeah.
So it was so fortunate for me because he saw that. So he let me go on all these fam trips all around Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And then then there was a beautiful picture of this beach, which you saw and walked upon. And I was just like, it was right in front of me every day, and it was just like calling me. So I went to him, I said, where is that? He said, Corcovado. And I was like, I got to go there. So my dad and my sister came down to visit me. We drove all the way from San Jose down to here, and I just got chills, man. We drove to this beach, and I got out of the car, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I had traveled around the world. I'd seen a lot of beautiful beaches.
Yes.
But I just got the chills then too, and I had a out-of-body experience in a yoga pose, like sitting in lotus above the beach. And I was just like looking down the beach like,
and you recognized.
Yes.
You remembered it.
I remembered. And then it was just like, oh my gosh, I love this place. So then I wanted to become a guide. So then I got trained to be a guide, and then he sent me here. So then that was the first time I landed on this airstrip, and the next day with another guide and 2 National Geographic photographers, they sent us to Sirena. That was my first introduction to this whole place.
Wow.
For 5 days.
Wow.
So the only thing I got to do, I was so honored, we had to put the photographers in a place and leave them there all day, and then the guide took me and we walked all over. And so that was my introduction actually to this area.
Okay.
And so I fell in love with it right away, but I know that I've lived here in another life many times.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask you, do you feel like that memory was from your future self, from another life? What do you feel like that memory or that familiarity of seeing the beach was for you?
Well, I know in so many ways that I've been here before and tried to also continue to save it.
Yeah.
But I can still see it in my mind's eye, sitting there in lotus pose above the beach. And because for any of you, this is the Pacific Ocean. We're on Costa Rica on the west coast. So this beautiful Pacific Ocean comes across, and then it touches this beautiful beach that's rainforest.
Yeah.
It's like kissing it, and you saw that. And there's even mist coming up.
Mm-hmm.
The sunsets are beautiful, but there's no one there. The other day I went with my nephew who just came, and we watched the most beautiful sunset, and then the mist, at that time was just coming up, and I said to him, Adam, look at this.
Yeah.
No other place in the world like it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you worked as a guide for 8 years.
I worked as a guide, and then he wanted to send me down here. So, long story, but that man that I was going to marry once, he came and found me. I went back to Alaska to marry him, but it didn't work. So then I came back, and I wanted to be manager of this place he had here, because he had just started a lodge here in Corcovado. So he said, will you be manager of this place? So, and I'd worked in tourism my whole life, all over the world, and especially in Colorado. And so he said, will you be, my boss said, I went back and asked him for a job. He said, yes. So he put me here. And, it was so amazing because, my dad taught me responsibility is freedom, and freedom is responsibility. So this boss, he knew, he let me have the reins. He gave me the responsibility, but with that, I had freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And then, with that freedom, I was very responsible. I ran everything for him. I did all the numbers, did everything, because he gave me that, but I wanted to also do a good job for myself, but also for him.
Can I ask if you had sort of a plan for the direction of your life in this moment, or was it more of following the next step that made sense?
Well, when I was traveling around the world, I was working in Australia in the most northerly tip in Cape York, and I was actually teaching sailing there, and I was also a guide. But then I started doing everything. I cleaned, I cooked. I love to cook. I've cooked all over, and was a waitress. I just helped them because they needed. We had 25 staff. We could accommodate 50 people. People had to go like 2 hours to the most northerly tip. But one night, my little pup tent, little tent there, it was up on stilts. I just sat and I just wrote because I always wanted to have my own lodge because I'd already been here. Mm-hmm. And so I'd always wanted to have my own lodge. I'd already been to Costa Rica. I hadn't been to this place. Mm-hmm. But I just had a vision that I love people. And then, later on in the story, when I was going to buy some property next to where I was working, but it didn't work. And I was really bummed because I had worked on the oil spill in Alaska and made a little bit of money. And one of my employees said, Lana, I have a place. And I said, let's go. He said, it's up the river. So we came up here, and to be honest, Shauna, we stood there, and I looked out at the rainforest, this beautiful rainforest, and I just felt it. It was like, I said to myself, it's so beautiful. I have to build something to share.
Yeah.
And then I think, just listening to my intuition, I mean, a lot of things happened building this place, and that's why, I could have never built this place without yoga in my life, because I already had yoga. I started in like 1988, 89. I was teaching skiing, and then one of the instructors that I was working with, she learned ashtanga. So then we started doing ashtanga after teaching yoga, and then I'd go and work.
I was so surprised last night when you shared to the whole group that you were practicing ashtanga on your own on that very deck where we were sitting, because I don't know if you know this, but my background also was in ashtanga. That was one of the things that I learned, and I still do teach a bit of it, but it was one of the fundamental things that I would say got me into a personal practice, and I'm so grateful for the ashtanga method for that reason forever. Because it sounds like it got you practicing on your own in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. And I loved it because exactly what you said, there's like a foundation for me, because I could do it alone. And once I did it, and I could get up early and do it, when I was living on the beach and here, but it was my stable. Yeah. And then, I crushed its heel and I broke this leg in 4 places and my nose in 2 and had a stitch all over my face. But yoga saved me. I did my own, personal therapy up here. I broke my leg building Luna Lodge, but I had no one to help me here. I mean, I did everything. I mean, I was on crutches, but every day, and also this dancer came and she taught me how to, if anyone ever gets an ankle injury, I broke my leg here and 3 places here. And so I was doing yoga every day, but a dancer said, Lana, write the alphabet in the air.
Yeah.
But that got this leg strong, so then I had to write it on the other side.
Yeah.
But that really also helped because the movement. But to be honest with you, I could have never, I mean, in so many ways, as you know, and all of your followers, mind, body, and soul, this union. I did a conference the other day to like 50 women, and I said, your mind's here and your body's here, but your soul's like, will you align? Because only truly when your mind, body, and soul are aligned, can you become whole and really who you are.
Yeah.
I
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a massive, and this is one of the things that fascinates me about you for sure, is seeing what you've built. And I'm always looking for people who have built really interesting things and beyond all odds. And I was curious what do you think drove you forward to continue? Because as you've mentioned, and I know the whole story is in your book, so if listeners are curious, they can go and hear the entire story in your book. But what drove you to continue in these moments? I mean, you've broken your leg. I know you ran out of money. There was a fire. Things burned down. I mean, it was, you overcame a lot of things for us to be sitting where we are sitting right now today.
Yes. I just told you and Simon that, Simone, that every day I do a headstand, and I said, do the thing and the power will come. And, there were a lot of things that happened building Luna Lodge, but just want to say to anyone that has, any idea or a purpose or a dream, to just anytime you get pushed down, you have to get back up. Please, and meditate or do some type of yoga movement, because it's just there to test you.
Yeah.
The universe is just testing you. And so you got to get back up and you got to be stronger, and believe in yourself. I mean, I read so many books, Conversations with God, and, but every time it was just, I'd just come back to my intuition and just like get back up. And there were a lot of things that happened, but I know now why. And even now in my life, whatever happens is meant to happen, and even sometimes I know it's hard to even think this, but I'm learning that, our consciousness sometimes does this to us, they say, you get ideas in your consciousness, then it goes to your core, your 3rd chakra, and then your subconscious doesn't even fight with it because that's also your soul. So we have to be so in aligned, and I think when we do our teacher training for doing Awakening Yoga, it's, the only book that my students have to read before they come here is the 4 Agreements. Don't take it personally. Do your best. Your word is impeccable. And if people truly knew how strong that is, and don't assume, It's just, I tell my employees, if someone says something bad to you, just know that what's happening and what they're saying is what's happening inside themselves. So just put your hands up. And we know this in yoga, this is self-esteem. This is a mirror. Just send it back to them. And don't be mean. You don't even have to say anything. Just be there, because I think that's really important right now too, because now, the fire horse is going to come, on the 17th of February, the Chinese calendar. I train my horse. We need to get on that horse and let that horse feel you, and you feel him with your intuition. Be ready. We don't need to react. We need to pause and just be responsive, because it's coming. It's coming. We just got to get ready. And your health is so important.
How do you feel like we can stay patient, especially if people are listening and say, that sounds great, I want to feel the power, I want to feel the self-esteem, I want the purpose, I want it all, and I want it now?
Well, number one, do yoga and meditate. That's what I was going to say, because it's just, I can tell you, and I'm sure your followers know, and the other day something happened with one of my employees, and it was just like, duh. And I just said, okay. And I just left. I came here and I meditated for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Just breathe. Like I said last night in the yoga class, there's so many people out there that are breathing from their chest. It's like, fear, anxiety. And, we need to come back to our core, because our core is connected to the small of our back. The small of your back is family, So it's like everything is connected. But we need to be strong in our core, so that, and you need to learn how to breathe correctly. And always, for me, your breath is the best medicine. You're your own best doctor. You know what's going on inside of you. So just come back to your breath. Even if you're in a traffic jam, and just taking a big breath, just slowly breathe out, and you can feel it in yourself, And I think number one is just know, like I said, just come back in and find the love and the honesty and the trust and the balance and worthiness here. I think so many people are grasping out here for so many things. Honey, it's all right here.
Yeah.
We just have to remember.
It's always that once I have this next thing, or once I get here, then I will feel good enough, I will feel content. I noticed that, honestly, sometime last year, that on a certain level, I was always assuming that once I get to a certain point, I will feel that contentment. And it's like, if you don't feel it now, you never will. It'll never be enough if it's not enough right now. And that's so hard. It's an intense spoonful of medicine to take, but it's, once you realize it, it changes, I feel, the entire way that we live and our entire existence. So could you tell people a bit more about your mission with Luna Lodge, and also, we can get into talking a bit about the Whitehawk Foundation, and then we'll kind of bring it back through and around. So if you're listening, we'll talk a bit about how, people find their purpose in general and how we can serve the world. We can serve both the individual, as you do, but also the world. We talk a lot about that, but yeah, let's hear about what is really your mission, because I know now, because I've had the chance to hear from you, and I don't want to skip it over, if you're listening, but talk to us about it. Why Luna Lodge? Why bring people here to have this experience, which is, it's sustainable travel. I'll let you. I won't explain your own project for you.
No, that's fine. But just keep coming back. For me, Mother Earth is the best medicine.
Yeah.
I know that I had so much help from above and from so many people, boyfriends, family members, all my employees. I just feel so fortunate. But coming back again, it's just, for me, I really believe that right now we were chosen to be here, and we chose to be here, and we're so lucky to be here right now. So that's why I think it's so important to come back to Mother Earth. And like I'm telling all of my clients, anytime that you feel anxiety or fear, just go outside, take your shoes off, give everything you don't need to Mother Earth, but stay there long enough. Because a lot of people just, okay, here, there you go. And then they walk away. No, you guys, stay there, because she wants to give you something. And I think that's really important. I know in my life, it's easy to love, but it's not so easy to receive love, you know? And we can give and give, but to be able to stand there and receive something is so important.
Yeah.
And that's what, for me, that's all Mother Earth really wants, is us to heal that inner child so that we can help heal her.
Yeah.
So, you know, Luna Lodge started because I wanted to share Luna Lodge with everyone, or the people that would like to come here. I know it's not for everyone, but for the people that love nature, you know, and love yoga.
And an adventure.
Yes, yeah, an adventure.
I think I crossed the river 4 times on the way here. It was almost a spiritual, almost like biblical experience. And like we're going up these steep hills and down
Merlin,
valleys.
you know, it's
and,
like, whoa.
Yeah, it's not for the quick arrival, you know, the ease of arrival sort of person. It's somebody who's I'm going to put in the grit into, you know.
Yeah, you got to want to come here.
You got to want to come here.
And then even when you get here, the first thing that I give anyone is a glass of water, you know? Seriously. Some people said, oh, you got to give them a juice. No, water. Because people have come by horse, you know, walking, by car, you know, by quad, you know, by bicycle, you know? And so it's like the first thing anyone needs is water, you know? So, yeah, but because we are up a little hill, but then people don't want to leave.
Exactly.
Yeah, but so then with the Whitehawk, so I bought the property in 94, but then we started building in 98, and we opened the year 2000.
Okay.
So I was doing, because I didn't have my yoga platform at that time, so I was doing yoga, of course, every day, my ashtanga workout all by myself, you know, right out there on the deck. And my deck outside in the Rancho Grande, you know, and I'll never forget, you guys, because I had like a little little Jaguar, like little one-piece jumpsuit, you know, and I was doing savasana, and all of a sudden I felt the shadow like coming over the top of my body, and I just opened my eyes and I looked up, and this white hawk had just flown right over the top of me, and it went right out into the valley, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then ever since then, I have had this relationship with him.
Yeah.
You know, just like a totem. But he has been there for me, to be honest with you, so many times when I needed, you know. That's what I love truly about nature. And it just happened to my nephew. I said to him, you know, come down to your heart. Get out of your mind and into your heart. And he went on a kayaking trip, and he was thinking, oh, Lana said, you know, go to your heart. And he did, and a morpho butterfly came right out at him. And he was like, whoa. You know, or he went on the Corcovado trip, and a little baby turtle was all alone, and he was going to the ocean, and I said, that was you. He said, I know. And I said, did it make it to the ocean? He said, yeah. I said, okay.
Yeah.
You know, so when you really need a little bit of extra umph, you know, triumph is try with umph, you know. So when you need that little umph, there's going to be a sign.
Yeah.
Or even a falling star, you know. If it's too cold and you can't go outside, then go outside and look up at the moon and the stars. The cosmos are also speaking to us.
I have a question about this, because I also love looking for signs and making, you know, finding meaning in things. But how do we know? I guess it comes down to intuition. But when we're first starting, how do we know what something means? I mean, it's hard sometimes to interpret what it is that we're seeing. Should we just relax and lean into it? Or what do you suggest for people who this may be a really new concept for them?
Yeah, and I think to really heal, you know, we need to understand, just like I said before, everyone has a story.
Yeah.
But understand and then relax. You know, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm in Savasana, it's just like, because we keep our people in Savasana for at least 8 to 10 minutes. It's just
a proper Shavasana.
Yeah,
yes.
Totally. And that's what people need, because then you can get to this state where I'm talking about, like, just, it's like, if you just let go, you can truly come and feel bliss. I think bliss is a really important word. Sometimes it feels like I'm just like floating on clouds. Like when my whole body is totally relaxed, I let go. I told you last night, the other day, this woman, you know, she was like
drumming with her fingers.
Yeah, with her fingers, you know, and everyone else was trying to relax. And I just went over and just touched her hand and just said, just relax.
Calm.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think totally relaxing, meditating, you know.
Training presence and relaxation, it sounds like, so that we can see things how they really are.
Yes.
Rather than getting sort of, because
and
otherwise.
Pause.
Yes.
Pause. Don't just react.
Yes.
You got to pause.
Pause.
And then once you pause, then it's like, oh. And I think, you know, it's just so important to go back into yourself and really to your intuition. What does this feel like?
Yeah.
You know, get out of your mind and into your heart. I said to a client the other day, I'm a shamanic Reiki master, and I had like a 2.5 hour session with him. He was just like asking me all these questions, and I was like, okay, tomorrow, let's try this. I said, the whole day, I said, if you can, the whole day, every decision you make, when it comes to your mind, boop, come here. What does it feel like? Let's try that. He's like, I said, yeah, try it. So he was still here because it was a retreat. He's like, oh my gosh, Lana. I was like, see?
Yeah.
You know, just come to your intuition.
Yeah.
You know, and literally, I'm like physically move. Oh man, what does this feel like? And I think we all know that if you truly listen to your intuition, or like it's a gut feeling, you know, if you're in front of someone, it's like, whoa, man, the energy, just step back, you know, because this is your aura, you know, your arm length on both sides, the small aura, and then there's, you know, the 12 feet. But even if you're in someone's company you don't want to be, you know, just step back a couple feet and just look at them. And you know what? The biggest thing is smile. Smile.
Yeah.
Smile, sis. I'm okay. You're okay.
It's historically, I've been somebody who's been very indecisive. That was one of the things that on this whole journey has helped me a lot to become more decisive and to be able to follow that gut instinct with that intuitive sense. And then, of course, it's not always going to be the perfect decision, but then to react from there. And again, decisive, decide, make a decision, take action, react. Okay, this is how this went. Where do I go from here? And now what? You know, that sort of thing. And as you were describing this, I remember that something I did is that I would actually flip a coin. If I couldn't decide, I would flip a coin. And then I would pretend that that coin was going to determine what I do wholeheartedly, right? Quit your job or stay with the job. Flip a coin. And then I would sense how I felt in the face of that. Like, oh, I've just found that I'm moving here. Oh, how do I feel? Do I feel disappointment? Do I feel a little bit excited? What is the actual feeling? And so this is really important. I love that you bring that up. I think that can help a lot of people. It helped me.
Yeah. And I think we really need to realize that something happened yesterday here. You know, every day something happens and you have to face it. And there's no right or wrong. It's just lessons and experiences. You know, and I think that's more than anything right now. People are just like, you know, just degrading yourself or criticizing yourself. No. Like I said to you yesterday, the first thing in the morning, like Louise Hay said, she was very famous, you know, the first 5 seconds you wake up, I am happy. But the other day it happened to me, I was like, I'm happy. And like, no, Lana, I am happy. So inside I felt it. I am happy. I'm healthy. I'm wealthy. I'm wise. I'm flexible. I'm strong. I'm enough. And you said enough right now and something else. And that, you guys, is so important because I think of whatever's happened in your life, parents, teacher, you know, someone else. It's like, oh, you know, you got to get a better grade or whatever. We have to know and be so proud of ourselves, whatever you're doing in your life right now. Wherever you are is where you are.
Yeah.
But just know inside, you are enough.
Yeah.
You're worthy. And then be thankful. I am so thankful every day.
Yeah.
Gratitude can turn everything around, you know?
I'm so grateful that you're bringing people here to have that experience because I do believe even just a short amount of time in nature can allow that sort of enoughness to come back. I always talk about this feeling where when we're in deep presence or even just drinking a coffee or a little cacao in community or maybe in the morning, right? For me, always the mornings, they haven't become clouded so much with all of the tasks that I have for the day. And I experience presence. And when we're really in that presence, there's nothing wrong. We don't need to fix anything. We feel enough. And it's kind of like, as I've been looking around here and you see the way that the nature just takes back over, right? It's just vines all the time coming up and you don't have to do anything to feel worthy or enough. It just creeps back in when you stop killing it off.
Totally. And I think another thing that we really need to look at in the rainforest is everything is looking for the light. You know, we are light.
Yeah.
We were born white light. Shine your light. But everything is truly looking for the light. And another thing that I love when I do the forest bathing is everything is looking for the light. And even if they have to lean on this other branch or on this other tree, they're going to get there.
Yeah.
You know? But they're being supported.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes, that's another thing. Man, we can't get so down on ourselves. Sometimes we are all strong, but sometimes we need a hand.
Yeah.
You know, we need someone. We need a little bit of that support.
Yeah. So lean on what's around to reach for the light. Takes trust
Totally.
and community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going. And, you know, I'm such a strong, you know, advocate about doing yoga and moving, especially now, movement and your health. To me, like mind, body, and soul. And I just wrote a song. It's called She Is Rising. And I was channeled by Mother Earth. And it's like a broken heart is an open heart. You know, be in your breath.
Yeah.
That's the first lines.
Wow.
And it's like, and it's really true. You know, a broken heart is an open heart.
Yeah.
We really have to need to know that you need to release all that ancestral trauma or whatever, or, you know, past relationships. You kind of move that out in your heart, in your mind, in your body, in your soul, and your, you know, everything. Because we got to be ready for this new love that's coming.
Yeah. It's fascinating to me, this idea of the broken heart, because I think when we think about heartbreak, we think about romantic heartbreak, or maybe even in my case, I think a lot about friendship heartbreak, because in my lifetime, I've experienced a lot of friendship heartbreak. Yeah. But it's more than that. I also think even following our dreams brings heartbreak in some moments because we care so deeply, you know, and we're looking out, like you showed us yesterday. I mean, quite literally at an area of land that people want to sell off, tear down, and put condominiums and AC and big pools and separate these, you know, intense walls and keep the nature out, you know? And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It would be easier to not see it, but you're looking at it every day and you're working every single day to try to prevent that. Yeah. And that's a heartbreaking path because your whole heart is in it and you can see it.
And like looking where we're looking right now, and hopefully we'll show the followers.
Yeah.
But look at that. She's just like so much love. And for me, I am so lucky. I feel so fortunate and so blessed that I get to look at this every day. But we're part of her. Yeah. You know, like the other day I sat down and did a plant meditation. I'm like, I love you. And she's like, I love you, honey.
What's a plant meditation for people?
Well, okay, you know, like the other day I was teaching yoga and I had like 10 people in front of me and this woman was sitting right in front of me. And I said, you know, part of Luna Awakening Yoga is that we do a heart opener, then we do a warm up, then we, and then we do vinyasa or we do kundalini, and then we do a plant meditation. And I was like, to everyone, I was like, do you like to meditate? And this woman right in front of me, she's like, no. It wasn't like, oh, no. It was like, no. And I was like, okay.
Very honest.
Yeah, I know. It was like a wall. I mean, it was like, she was right, and I was like, okay, well, this is going to be perfect for you. I said, because I know sometimes meditation can be quite difficult for some people. But here, what we do is we go out and we, you know, push through our sit bone, straight spine, you know, Bayan Mudra, and I give a little beautiful essence of breathe. And we look at a plant because plants are more sensitive than we are. And so your eyes are open. I mean, if they want to have their eyes closed, fine, but it's really, the whole thing is about having your eyes open. And you look at a plant or a tree and you ask a question or you just listen. And it is incredible what they say back to you. And you know what? Even if you can't go outside, you can even do it with a house plant. Let me tell you. Yeah. It happened to me the other day. I was in San Jose and I had like aloe vera plant. Yeah. Even aloe vera plant is like strong, you know. I mean, that thing doesn't really move. And it was like, you know, or like, I don't even know if you guys are like walking somewhere, you know, in a park or whatever, and you see a plant that's like, ooh.
I saw that in Corcovado. I pointed it out actually to Simone. Yeah.
Yes. See, they're like, hey, hi.
It's so weird. All of the other ones still. And that one there was nothing there. There was nothing on it. I inspected it.
They're more sensitive
the logical
than we
brain
are.
is like, what is the cause?
Exactly. No, I know, man. And like I told you yesterday, something happened to this guest, and the plant spoke to him because he needed to hear it at that time. Yeah. You know, so we just need to be open. Yeah. I think so open, you know, or sometimes you can even test it. Like if you're out looking at the moon and falling, you know, and or stars, just say, okay, ask a question and say, you know, I'd like to see a falling star, you know? Yeah. Yeah. And then if it happens, oh my gosh, can't even go to sleep, you know? Yeah. You're so excited.
It's so excited.
Because it responds. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Yeah.
How powerful do you think we really are? Do you think most of us are more powerful than we've ever imagined as humans? Like, what are we really? It's a really deep question, but...
Well, me personally, I'm only speaking from my own
Yes,
experience.
exactly.
But we're so powerful. We just need to remember who we are.
Yeah.
I mean, like the other day, something happened. Well, 2 days ago in San Jose, and my friend called me. He's like, Lana, what am I gonna do? Because it took something off of his restaurant, a whole, top. And I said, it's so windy, Lana. And I said, be a weather shaman. I said, sit down and meditate and find your peace. Because, and then another friend called me, Lana, what am I going to do? A tree just fell down in her parking lot. I was like, stop. I said, and she knows me very well. I was like, meditate. Find the peace within.
Yeah.
Because we can. And I saw that. Like last year, I don't know if you know, there was a really bad hurricane in Florida. And thousands of us prayed and meditated around the world. Because that hurricane was coming directly towards Florida and was going to do so much damage. And I was on that meditation, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
It turned around. I mean, I literally saw that. And, we can be, because what's happening in the world right now is our own consciousness. So if we can do more yoga and meditate, look, you, then me, then Simone, then all my employees, as many want to do, all my clients. That's what I always say. And a beautiful thing, after the plant meditation, we're looking out over the Pacific Ocean. I'm like, okay, breathe in love. Breathe out love. Give Mother Earth this beautiful love. Breathe in peace. Then let's take this breath. All of us take this breath of love, peace, harmony, balance, worthiness, and gratitude around the world. I always say, visualize our breath going around the world, touching all your friends and family through their hearts. And then I let them, visualize it. And wait like a little bit. And then now, okay, this breath is coming back up here and touching each one of us.
Yeah.
And we can all do that.
Yeah.
There's so many people that are meditating right now, and it's changing. The
Yeah.
world is changing. We're awakening.
Yeah. I believe it, because I've experienced it, and it's happened to me, and I've gone from the side of feeling very skeptical of all of those sorts of things to feeling like I can't look back now. Once you've seen it, some things you cannot forget. And I mean that in the most mundane, sit down to meditate sort of way, not, any other way. But I want to ask you too about, because you do this sort of service for the individuals, which I love. You teach yoga, Reiki, you work with people, you give us these rituals and things that we do. But then you also approach things from the systemic side. You're shaking hands with presidents and bringing them out to see Osa Peninsula if they've never seen it before. Look, we need to protect this. How do you, I guess, move from the individual and from understanding and having all of this love to actually like turning on your warrior side and going out there and being like, listen, I'm gonna get into your face. I'm going to show you. Come here and experience, how I live and what I stand for.
Yeah, I just think it's so incredible. Actually, I said this to some of my friends and clients yesterday at the lunch table, that because here in Costa Rica we just had presidential election, and it's just so important. I think we need to thank everyone. Having gratitude for all these people that are taking time out of their life to be in this position. I know I was president of town, president of, tourism board, these small things, but still, I was president of my high school.
Yeah, you were homecoming queen even.
Yes.
I was like, you have been a lot of times put in a sense of spotlight. And, I think when we do have a mission, we have things to share with the world. Who we need in order to carry that out seems to arrive.
Totally. And for me right now in my life, because this is so important for me to protect, because there's no other place in the world, and you two went there, because why? Because the animals feel safe, the people feel safe, and the spirits feel safe here. There are not very many places left in the world like that, as you know. So like I say, you can have animals and put them in a zoo, or you can have a wild zoo like here. So for me, it's our responsibility to protect this place, because the animals can't do it. It's a really simple concept, but it is so true. We need to take this responsibility. So for me right now, I've been working with the school. I was president of town. We built the first sustainable school out of bamboo. And so we started with 2 children. Now, after 14 years, now we have 22. You know, so
22 children in the school.
22 children in the school. And so it's so amazing because, you know, I go there as much as I can. They made a song about Mother Earth. Sí podemos, you know, yes, we can save her.
Yeah.
And, you know, teaching them the importance about listening, you know, especially to the sounds of the little birds in the morning. All of us, if we hear birds in the morning, anywhere where you are in the world, that makes you feel safe because they're safe, you know? So just trying to communicate, I think, educate, you know, the people about the importance of saving Mother Earth because we are one.
Yeah.
You know, when we do damage to her, Shauna, we're doing damage to ourselves.
Yeah.
And people don't even know that.
And I think that's a hard concept to grasp, you know, and I think there might be a lot of people who would be incredibly skeptical. You know, they haven't necessarily seen it through your eyes. They haven't lived it and really witnessed it. But on a very basic level, if you think about the idea of the birds, right? If you hear the birds in the morning, you feel a little bit safe in your body. When we feel safe in our bodies and secure with, you know, how things are, we're not approaching our entire day from fear, from lack, from anger, from an unsettled state in which we kind of go out and create chaos for ourselves and for other people in order to mask this baseline feeling of unease that we have. And so there you can see it very logically, very tangibly, how, you know, our body is related, our physical body and vessel is related to the body of the earth.
And I think that's a perfect thing that you just said, because I think people don't know the body they're living in.
Yeah.
I mean, in yoga, yes. Or at least if we can, you know, I love to teach yoga to help people help themselves. But and you know, I'm so lucky because I have people from around the world. That's why, you know, all different shapes, sizes, levels, you know. But if I can encourage them to get inside and embody themselves.
Yes.
I mean, and I think the most important thing, you know, all of our chakras, but, you know, the first chakra and feeling safe because of what's happened to us in other lives or, you know, whatever you want to believe, or even in this life, maybe you didn't feel safe because of something that happened to you in your childhood.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing that we need to work on is feeling safe within ourselves.
The universal human wound, the lack of feeling of safety.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, I can say 99% of the people that I work with, they don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And so that's what I really try and help them by looking out at this and say, you know, come to her. Yeah. And that's why I'm said, like, stay there and receive what she wants to give you and just ground.
Yeah.
You know, and feel safe.
Yeah.
Find your roots.
Yeah.
You know, inside of yourself and where you're coming from and move with intention.
Yeah.
You know, feel yourself.
It's fascinating because even the people who are in charge of all of the decisions that are happening in the world are individuals as well. And if they are starting from that lack of feeling of safety, from not really feeling even intuitively like what's going on in your body, in your stomach, what side is the stomach, what side's the liver, like could I be feeling anger, could I be feeling hunger, like what's going on, you know, what's really going on in my body. And so if you are a listener of this podcast, you may know that the reason why I named it Leadership in Yoga originally is because I had this dream and this question of what would happen if we taught yoga and meditation to world leaders. And this idea, it just lit me up. And for a long time, I wanted it to be me. You know, I was like, I want to be the one, you know, maybe I'll go to the United Nations and I will teach, you know, presidents, whatever. And then after a while, I realized, no, it doesn't have to just be me. Like, actually, I view everybody who's doing this work, whether you're a yoga teacher or coach, you're really having access to people when they're not distracted. And seeing people like you, it really gives me hope because here you were all this time. And I had not somehow heard of you. I had not, you know, found out about your story. But here you were this entire time doing this work. And so I'd love if you could share with folks the story of how one of the prior presidents of Costa Rica ended up coming to your lodge, and also what you shared with me about supporting future, you know, presidents and people of power, because that was really inspiring to me.
Yeah, well, the first time they were this was many moons ago, they were going to have a tuna fish farm here. And it was going to be right on the outskirts of the Golfo Dulce. And that was going to just destroy the Golfo Dulce. And people didn't even know about it. And when I heard about it, I was like, I couldn't even fathom that they were going to do this, because the Golfo Dulce is where the humpback whales come from the north and the south to have their babies. In the mouth, it's 60 meters, and it comes down to 200, you know? So they were going to put this tuna fish farm. So a coalition, a lot of us got together here, and we were working to try and teach or help the president at that time, Oscar Arias, know the importance of protecting this place. So I just called, because at that time there weren't even cell phones. This was 2007, maybe. Yeah, I called the president's office. I came down from teaching yoga. I was having breakfast, and I was like, I'm going to call the president. So I went in. I called the president. I said, my name is Lana. I have a lodge on the Osa Peninsula. I'd like to speak to the president. And she's like, I didn't say the name of my lodge. I just said I have a lodge. And she's like, he's in a meeting right now. I said, okay, well, when do you think I could talk to him? And she's like, where is your lodge? I said, on the Osa Peninsula. And she said, and is there like a platform at the top? And I said, yes. I said, that's my yoga platform. She's like, I've been there. My husband's from Puerto Jimenez.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? So she said, I will help you. So long story short, ends up that the president of Costa Rica comes to my lodge almost a year later. I had a lot of people helping me, but that one woman made the difference. Her secretary, a lot of times.
Well, she had come here and she had experienced it, which is the point, right?
Totally.
And she had felt the magic, and she was willing to do the extra step to.
She did, yeah. And then a whole bunch of people, and then so he came, and it was so incredible because I'll never forget, you guys. I put him in the honeymoon suite, and he came by himself, but with like a little entourage, but. I love to dance, so my worker and I danced that night, and a friend was here playing the guitar, and we also had the Minister of Environment at that time, and all these people. But the next morning, it was like 7:30, and he didn't come down, and his assistant was like, Lena, I don't know what's going on, he said, I hope he's okay. I said, oh, I'm sure he's okay. Oh my gosh, you guys, the assistant went, and he was laying in his bed, because you can see this view from his room with the door wide open, and he was just relaxing because that's what's happening. So guess what? So then I had dinner with that night, but the next morning I had breakfast with him. I said, I know you have a lot on your plate, but I just want to tell you there is no other place in the world like this. And so ends up then he was here, and then he went to Sirena. He got to see a tapir. They flew him to Sirena, and I said to my friends, some park guards, I said, what did you do? Just like tie it up,
That's the weasel-like animal?
No, the tapir.
Which one
is
that?
Danta.
Oh, it's the Danta.
Danta, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know the name.
So he saw one, which was pretty incredible at that time. And so then he flew back to San Jose, and the next day they stopped a fishing boat. And we fought for this for like almost at least 7 years. And so we stopped it.
Yeah.
Because, so he did come. So the next president, I had the opportunity to talk to him also privately in the airport, which is like, that was also the divine.
Yeah, would you tell the story? Because I think it's really useful for those of us who feel like it's so impossible. Like, how would you ever reach the president? But when you tell the story, it does something for me. So I'd love if you would share actually the details of how you ran into him in that way.
Well, we used to not have bridges on a lot of the rivers here. And so it was very difficult. So he came because we got a new bridge. So that day, it was perfect because I had to go out because I was going to go to San Jose. But they had this big event, beautiful. Yeah. The whole town had this big event, like the girls, the children, there was a band. They were, dancing the Costa Rican dance. And so I was there, but I was in this little orange dress, like the one I was last night. Mm-hmm. I love to get dressed up, And so I was with a group of people, and he drove right up. And so I was standing there, with all my friends, and, I'm blonde, and he's like, and you?
Yeah, what are you doing?
And I like, my name's Lana. I have a hotel, Luna Lodge, at the end of the road. And he's like, oh, but he right away he spoke English to me because he wanted to. And so then I had to leave because I didn't even get to hear him speak because I had to go to get on my flight, Yeah. So my chauffeur took me to Puerto Jimenez, and his plane was there. And there was guards, like 3 guards. And so one of them, I went up to him and I was like, man, maybe I'll get on that flight with the president. Just joking, And he's like, well, he was very nice. And then the other one came up and said, he's coming in like 2 minutes. So I said, whoa. And so I said, I'd like to talk to him. And he said, go talk to that guy. And that guy was right by the, the airstrip, and right by the car, or right by the plane. So I walked over to him and I said, I would like to speak to the president. It's all in Spanish, and he had on sunglasses. It was like, And he's like, about
So
what?
like
And I said, I want to thank him. He's like, oh, okay. So, he lets me in.
And you invented, I mean, all of this, I'm assuming, is your mental processing that moment. Like, what could I say in order to be able to speak to him?
Yeah, totally. Because now I was going to have the opportunity. There was no one around. I mean,
Yeah.
no one, just
Yeah.
the guards.
Yep.
And because they didn't know what his plan was, and because
Yeah.
he had given his speech, and actually the townspeople thought he was going to stay so much longer, but he didn't, because of course, he had another meeting. Anyway, so I went in, and I just went into the airstrip, and then his car comes, right in, and so he gets out, and I'm like, hand him my hand, and like he steps out, and I'm like, hello. He's like, oh, you're here? And I was like, yeah. I said, my name's Lana. He's like, yeah, I know. And I said, I own Luna Lodge, and it's at the end of the road, but I just would really like to speak to you because it is so important to protect this place. He's like, Lana, I went to your hotel. He said, with my wife before I was president. He said, and I met you.
Yeah.
And he said, my wife loved your place. And I said, well, then you know. He said, I do know, Lana. He said, this is like the last standstill that we have to protect. I said, okay, so what can we do? And so then he was kind of also, he had to go, but he said, do you have a card? I said, no, but I had my water bottle that said Luna Lodge. I said, here. He's like, for water, And so he's like, oh, okay, thank you. And he said, but I still want your number. So he wrote down my number, and then ended up that his assistant did come here with his wife, and
Yeah.
he loves it. And now this man is a diputado.
Yeah.
And so now I just know that only through experience can people really feel and understand.
Yeah.
Me, when we're standing there and we look at this, it just, it sells itself.
Yeah. Well, and also all of the work. I mean, you showed us your little office with all of your, your crystal bed and all of your work that you do for people's energy and the releasing of that. And imagine, like we were discussing, like let's have the president-elect, the new president-elect come here, and imagine if we could, support her in that way. Wouldn't that just be...
Totally. Because I think, and I don't really like to talk about politics.
Yeah.
But I love what you're doing, to be honest with you. And I'm kind of like in your shoes right now trying to do this, But I think that we all, just like you said, we're all human beings.
Yeah.
And we are all here together. And truly we're all one. Just like we said before, if someone says something bad, it's really what's happening within inside themselves. So I think we need to thank these people for stepping up.
True.
To at least help us.
True.
And I know that not everyone makes the best decisions. We're all, no one is perfect, and we all make mistakes, but we can only learn from those mistakes. But I think, truly, I was thinking about this morning, rather than, degrade them, get on that bandwagon, man, and help them understand.
Yeah.
Give them, help them go in the right direction,
Yeah.
Really, if we can.
Yeah.
Who knows? But at least we can try, that little triumph, at least we can try.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. On the subject of leadership, what do you think are qualities of an exceptional leader? What makes an exceptional leader in your opinion?
Okay, I can tell you. Look people in the eye. Number one.
Yeah.
Smile.
Yeah.
And I think, for me, body language. You need to work on your body language. That's why yoga is so important. Stand tall, dress up, be proud of yourself, work through your baggage. But when you're speaking to someone, look them in the eye. Anyone. I mean, it doesn't have to be a leader. Anyone. I tell all my employees, look people in the eye. And this is another thing I'm going to share with your followers. If you travel and you're, just make sure your money is protected on you. But if you don't feel very good in an area, oh, look at there's a spider monkey just jumped. That if you don't feel good, it's not like a good area to be.
Yeah.
I just look, and maybe if you think maybe this guy's going to rob me or something, or this person, look them in the eye. Because if someone's going to steal from you, they're going to be looking down because they're afraid.
Yeah.
So look them in the eye. I promise they will not steal from you because you're going to look stronger than them.
Wow.
But it's the same thing, just about life. And, I said to someone the other day, isn't it incredible how sometimes we build these walls, these imaginary walls between us?
Yeah.
Man, let's bring that wall down, communicate, feel someone, really look at them and try and understand also from where they're coming from.
Yeah.
So I think being a leader, stand tall, find your health. It's another thing I just want to say really quickly. The consciousness is from your gut. Your gut is your consciousness. So that's why it's so important to take care of your gut and your solar plexus. Your solar plexus, your thighs are also, your self-esteem. Your ankles are joy. Your hips are emotions, Feel good in your body so that you can walk with pride. I'm not saying being egotistical at all.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Walk with determination, smile, like where you're going and what you're doing.
Yeah. It's so fascinating because lately people have been saying this more and more on the podcast, this idea of, yes, feel good in your body, do your yoga, your meditation, take care of yourself so that you can go out and be a leader and you can do all the things that you want to do in the world in terms of service. It's that wellness it's not just the end goal for selfish means of, I want to feel good for me. It's, well, once I do feel good and I'm starting from a place of wellness, look at all of, anything is possible from here.
And it's contagious. Like
it is.
Like I just hired a young guy. His dad just came up here yesterday and he has a little panza, he has a little tummy. And I don't even know this man. I never even met him. He's like, I always sit down then. I said, so I showed him this exercise to do against the wall. And I was like, if you do that 20 times in a week, you're going to feel different. Because only when you feel good about your health, it's just like the 4 agreements.
Yeah.
If you don't have your health, you're not going to do a good job in anything, So I think it's just, we need to go inside and find your own health, because I've seen how many times, and I'm sure you have, and all of the other followers, when you can help someone learn how to do yoga, to not have that backache, or that hip, joint, or the shoulders, the neck.
Yeah.
The other day I was teaching yoga and I did, neck rolls, and after the class, this woman came up to me, she's like, thank you so much, Lana.
Yeah.
It's just that simple little thing.
Now I can think about something else instead of the pain.
Exactly. And I also want to tell you, I think this might be also on the leader thing, is like, right now in my life, it's like 8-8-8. You need to get 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, only 8 hours. I'm sure like you, I don't know about me, but I'll do like 16, whatever.
Yeah.
And then 8 hours of rest.
Yeah.
Or play. I love to play and dance. But what I'm doing now in my life, I'm 64, and yoga has saved my life.
Yeah.
Whatever appointment I have, like here I teach yoga at 7:30, I get up an hour and a half earlier because I get up, I say my positive things, I come out here and look at this view and say, I trust you, I love you, I thank you to the heavens, and then I trust you, I love you, thank you to Mother Earth, and then I do face yoga, I do my own little yoga, I meditate, and then I'm ready for the day.
Yeah.
So I think it's just really important, what I'm trying to say, whatever you do, meditate, but just have that time with yourself. It's
time
so
with yourself.
important
Yes.
to have even 5 minutes, if you can longer. It is so important to have that time, And then I start my day, and then I do 1.5 hours yoga. So 3 hours of my day are, giving myself love and attention. My dad said, the only thing people want is love and attention. And I added, if you can't get it in a good way, you try and get it in a bad way.
Oh, if you can't get it in a good way. Yes, so give it to yourself. Give yourself the love and attention.
Yes. And that's what we do in yoga.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bring it back to the moment. Give yourself some attention. That's what I'm saying. You're your own best doctor. You know where you're hurt or where you're feeling, oh man, my hip, or whatever. Work on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to end our time talking about, and I know we intended to talk about the Whitehawk Foundation earlier in the episode, and then we got swept away into animal stories and all of this. It's been so beautiful, but there was a really impactful story that you shared with me and others about how the first time that you became aware, basically, that people were coming here to buy up this land and to develop it. And I was wondering if you would be willing to share that story and the root of the foundation of Whitehawk, and how you decided in that moment to take that decisive action, because that's really what it takes. It takes that moment of boldness in the face of something that shocks us in order to make a change.
And courage.
Yeah.
So I think I was laying there and the Whitehawk came over the top of me, and gave me that strength, to also believe. And then I opened Luna Lodge in the year 2000, and I don't like to ask people what they do because they're on vacation, so this man was here for 4 days, and he came up to me. He was much taller than me, And he said, Lana, you know why I'm here? I said, no. He said, because I'm going to buy half that valley and I'm going to put condominiums with pools and air conditioning. And I was like, you're going to what? I mean, I was like almost in shock. I almost fell back. But I just was like, okay, and then he left, And then at that time, the year 2000, if someone was going to buy a piece of property, they needed to have the okay and the signature from all the sides of the property, And so my ex-boss, who I, had a really good relationship with, he did not sign it, but that man fought. So the next day, I brought up all the owners of this valley with a lawyer and a surveyor, and we sat at that big table, down the restaurant, and I said, you guys, we have to save this,
Yeah.
It's our responsibility to do this. And like I told you before, a lot of this land was given to them when they were kicked out of the park, So to them, of course, some of them loved it, but to others, it wasn't that important. So if anybody, and money walks and talks around the world, if anybody was going to come and give them, a big portion of money, they were going to take it.
Yeah.
So people don't understand the importance of protecting the land.
Yeah.
And especially here, this is primary rainforest, this that we're looking at right now, that we need to save. Like, look at all the biodiversity there.
Yeah.
That's been there forever,
Mm-hmm.
So right after that, so then I started, and I didn't even have a dime at that moment. So maybe that's also, if you have a dream, you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, embody it. Believe in it. Number one, believe in it. Say it every morning. Say it before you go to bed. A man said to me when I was going to build Luna Lodge, he's like, are you sure? I said, yeah, I am.
I'm sure.
He's like, are you sure? I said, yes. He said, okay, I'm going to tell you. It's going to be the first thing you think about when you wake up in the morning, the last thing you think about when you go to bed. It's going to cost you at least 5 times more than you ever thought, and have the least amount of employees you could ever have. And it is so true. I'm telling you guys that. Anybody, if you have a business, it's going to be the first thing you think about. Yeah. But that's okay. Yeah. Embody it. And before you go to bed, just say, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wise, whatever your words, because then your subconscious thinks about that in the nighttime. In the morning, the first thing, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm wise, I'm flexible,
Yeah.
I'm strong, I'm courageous, I'm thankful. We got to believe.
Yeah. In a way, it's like, well, thank you to this man for telling you.
Totally.
How odd. Yeah. I mean, in that moment, it's like the most terrible, it's the worst thing you could hear, but it's also the best thing that you would have known about it, enough to organize like that. Mm-hmm. And so what you're doing now is basically fundraising to buy up and preserve land on that all of the borders of Corcovado National Park, because the animals don't know the border.
Yeah, this area. Yeah. And thank goodness there's no fences.
Yeah.
So they can roam free.
Yes.
They have no idea if they're in the park or they're, So, yeah. And it's just so important. But I think anywhere, where your followers are living or where you guys are, just please, anytime, just go outside. Or if there's any area where you live that needs to be protected, get involved.
Yeah.
That's what Mother Earth wants.
Yeah.
Please get involved. Help save her.
Yeah, it hit me last night when we were sitting at the dinner table, actually. And I was like, the world is so big and there are so many problems. And at a certain moment, we feel all of the weight of the world on our shoulders. And it's so tempting to just throw it off and not look back and say, don't bother me. I'm just going to be over here. Like, I don't want to see how the world is burning in all of these ways, and it's hard sometimes for us to maintain hope. But I was thinking, I was like, if we can have a Lana here doing this, and then we can have one in every state, we could have one in every country, eventually one in every town. Just imagine. Like it's that, contagious. And that is exactly how these sort of things work. So never think you are too small to change the world is what
It starts with one.
Learning from you.
And that one step too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Believe in yourself.
So the last question of the interview is the billboard question. And so the idea is that if you had a billboard that was going to be seen by everybody in the world, what would you put on your billboard, Lana?
Well, I've heard this and I love it. And I tell all my clients, the longest journey you're ever going to take is only 6 inches from your mind, your heart.
Yeah.
Come from your heart. That's what we all need to do. And I also just want to thank you so much for having me on your podcast and for you doing what you're doing, because you are making a difference in people's lives.
Thank you. It's very mutually felt. Very, very mutually felt.
We should do a cheers.
Yes, we should.
Salud to
Salud,
you. And salute to
salud.
you. I drink cacao every day. This is cacao.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I think I'm going to start a cacao ritual of my own. I'm very inspired by this. But let folks know where they can find you and where they can continue to practice with you. And I know that you guys have a retreat coming up.
Yes. Yeah. So my name is Lana. I'm the owner of Luna Lodge here on the Osa Peninsula in Costa Rica, which is still wild. And I have a foundation called the Whitehawk Foundation on Instagram. And Luna Lodge is also on Instagram and Facebook. And we have a website. They both have websites. And yes, I am doing a retreat in May. It's called We Are Rising. And it's going to be amazing at the end of May. It's a beautiful time to come to Costa Rica. Actually, it's because it's not so hot. And it's going to be amazing. We're going to work with the chakras, also medicine wheel. And, really, finding out who you are, remembering. And coming to nature. But yeah, I'm so excited, and it makes me feel so good inside when we can share yoga with so many people.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah, I'll be sure to link all of that in the show notes. And then, did we have a question from the audience? Did I see? We have a little small audience here with us. No? Okay. In that case, I hope that if you're listening, you get to experience the beauty of Luna Lodge. Perhaps it's in this upcoming retreat. But thank you, Lana, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Have a great day.
A loo with a view.
A loo with the view.
Yes.
And view there is. Look at that.
Look at this.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Sitting here, sometimes toucans fly right here.
Yeah.
But the other day, a hummingbird came.
This is amazing. Can I sit there?
Yeah, please.
Oh, yeah. Definitely would help you relax and remember that you are a creature of nature.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 This is my office.
Wow.
My crystal bed.
Up close so you can see. Look at that.
Yeah, and it's sound. Working with the sound. Edgar Casey was like the most amazing psychic in the world. In the 1920s, he said that sound healing was going to be the most amazing healing modality in the world, and it is today.
Yeah.
This sound, but also nature,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you lay people down on top of
Yes.
this.
So this is all the chakras. Look, all the chakras are here. And so then I lay people on this bed, and then the crystals take everything you don't need, and then they give you what you need. And then I do sound healing, and then I do 2 types of Reiki. I do Usui from Japan, and I do Seikin from Egypt.
Oh yeah, it's really cool chair from Egypt. Our view. This is the deck. Right out here. Unobstructed. And one thing I noticed is there's so many edges, unprotected edges from nature here. There's nothing obstructing you. Living life right on the edge.
Best place to be.
The best place to be, right on the
best
bed.
place to be. And look, there's a dragon line here. We all have meridian lines in our body, but this is actually a meridian line for Mother Earth. Incredible energy. And this is the Whitehawk Foundation. This is what I'm trying to protect.
Wow. Yeah, and all up into the house is right here. So this is where we recorded the podcast. You can go through.
Yeah, so this bed is made out of cement, but then we brought all the sand on this beach is volcanic sand. We brought it and we put it in here in the bed and then put like a really thin cement. So sometimes when I'm laying there in the nighttime, it's just like...
You can feel the rumble, yeah. Thank you for sharing it.
You're welcome.